Childcare challenges is such a pressing development issue right now?
Well, we were surprised by the scale of the problem once we started to put the numbers together. And what we've done in this report is two things, really. Is first of all, to pull together all of the data that exists in a way that, as far as we can see, has never been done before. And secondly, to go out and talk to women in a few countries who are involved in this struggle day to day, to really get that to really understand it in depth from their point of view. As you say, the picture that's painted by the data overall is of a huge global crisis, sort of hidden crisis in childcare, of women really struggling with this double demand to not just care for their children in a way that they want to, but also to go out and earn enough money to support them. And at the sharp end of that problem, we're seeing these 35 million children, about 27 million of whom are in Africa, being very, very young children, being left alone at home on a regular basis. And, we really heard some heartrending stories while doing the report of what this means to women. We heard from women in India who are leaving babies behind when they go to work and locking the door and just hoping that everything's okay all day, that it will be all right when they come back.
All right, let's talk about the responses to the care gap closer to home. South Africa is a good example of a country. We're trying to get it right here. Now, two achievements stand out for us since 1994. It's not always highlighted at home. It's heartening, though, it gets a mention in your report. Our older persons grant. This means tested social pension for over 60s, about $93 as reflected in your report. It's found to reduce poverty in older persons and their families, increase younger women's work migration, and improve health in preschool girls, interestingly. And of course, our expanded public works program since 2004, probably being mentioned as probably the world's most innovative approach to care. And we're seeing unemployed beneficiaries, 90% of whom are women, being offered training and jobs in care-related services. So we are getting some things right here, but we're still struggling with our social norms, where men are still seen more as providers and women as caregivers. But this is not uniquely a South African problem. It's a struggle worldwide, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a struggle in every country. There were no countries where we found that men were doing the same or more childcare or domestic work than women. So, all around the world, this is primarily a woman's problem. But, of course, it's made much worse for poorer women and for women in poorer countries. I'm glad you mentioned the South African example. We were really struck in writing the report by, some of the approaches that had been taken, and heartened by the evidence that they do seem to be having an impact. And I think that just shows that it is possible to do something despite the the sense sometimes that this is an impossible problem, that you're getting to the heart of these family, personal relationships, so it's too difficult to tackle. I think the experience of both of those policies that you mentioned in South Africa shows that these things can be done, and that even if you can't solve the problem all at once, and some of the gender norms are going to take a very long time to change, we can certainly start with some of these innovations in public policy that will make things better in the short term, while we're waiting for these bigger social changes to happen in the long term.
Claire Melamand, Director of Poverty and Inequality at the Overseas Development Institute, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us on the News Today desk. Let's move on.